Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Breach episode. It's January 2026. My name is David Chernitzky. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Armour Cybersecurity. I have with me here.
My name is Arani. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Armour Cyber. Sai. Yeah. And my name is Sai. I'm the Senior Consultant leading the advisory and professional services practices with Armour Cybersecurity.
Armour Cybersecurity is a cybersecurity firm operating globally today, exposed to a lot of trends and the things that we see in the field that many times people are not really getting it firsthand. And the purpose of this podcast, we want to chat with our base and its business owners, executives, large enterprises, small enterprises, and we want to share what we see, and we hope really to bring the value to you guys. And in previous episodes, we covered multiple topics, and I think one of them was at the beginning of 2026, we spoke about a wrap-up of 2025, and we thought, talking about how small and medium businesses can rationalize their spend on cyber. And there's a lot of confusion going on. I hope you will clarify today during the episode what is the difference between cyber and IT security, and why it is, yes, it will cost you money, but how it can be affordable and doesn't have to be expensive to be properly protected. I think this is the main purpose of the discussion today, and maybe Arani, if you can take us through the idea why sometimes what we actually see today, people are overspending more than they should on cyber.
Absolutely. Now, this is a topic near and dear to my heart, right? So, and the reason we see that because, look, at the end of the day, as professionals in the organization and as professionals in this market, right, like cybersecurity will not be there without spending. Right. It's not something that's free out there. It's not something that comes with packages, but let's dissect this out of it, right? So cyber traditionally and still now is a part of IT, right? Without IT, without a baseline of a good IT infrastructure or IT program or a process, you cannot have cyber. Having said that, right, IP is always a business expense, right? It's always looked at an expense line item. It's not a revenue driver, right? It doesn't create revenue for companies. What I always like to say is cyber is something, it doesn't create revenue. It doesn't, contribute to your top line, but it helps you protect that revenue, right? So whatever money businesses are making, if you get hit by ransomware, if you get hit by a fraud, that money is gone, right? Cyber is something that you spend on, right, to protect that revenue, right? So we have to think from that perspective that always not a revenue driver, it's a protection control at the end of the day, right? Having said that, like we see a lot of companies and a lot of our clients and prospects that we deal with, right, overspend on cyber, right? And why does that happen? Few of the classic examples that we have seen is duplication of tools, right? We go to a lot of clients when they have one product, one security product for their servers, one security product for their laptops, one for their mobile devices, one for their network. Now, today's day and age, we see a lot of companies who have went on a platform approach of cybersecurity products. So that means you can have one platform where there are a number of products already in there, right? So you don't have to spend on multiple toolings out there. The other aspect that we look at is unused licensing, right? So that's underutilization of your current spend. You are spending today, say for example, you have business premium license, and because you have a business premium license for Microsoft, you already have access to certain tool sets. And in other episodes, we have talked about how Microsoft is making cyber more affordable. You already have as clients access to a lot of tools in the spend that you have. But what they do not know is this awareness. They don't know that they have purchased a license where you already get this security tool, some great controls that you can already put in place on day one that you're paying for. One, primarily why? Because it's education as well. A lot of clients don't know how to configure it or not aware that they're spending on that. The other aspect also is when it comes to specifically certain segments of our industry, we see a lot of legacy infrastructure. And with any legacy infrastructure comes a lot of high cost as well, because not a lot are modernized. There is a lot of overhead in terms of maintaining old systems and how they can actually spend cyber on there, right? So there are a lot of other points that we can cover, and a lot of our clients, we when we do assessment, and Sai, maybe you can talk about that. We try to quantify the damage, right? So if we give a finding and an impact, right, to a business owner, what does that mean from a recommendation and her impact, right? Maybe say talk about how do we quantify and bring those down, right, from a cyber cost calculator.
Sure, Arani. So what we do is for every finding or every recommendation that we give, we tag it to a particular threat or a cyber threat, right? So, for example, if it's a ransomware, now when there's a ransomware in an organization, what are the costs that the organization needs to take into account when the systems are down? It is not only that their supply chain is down; it's you need to take cost of your employee's salary, where they're not able to work, but you need to pay their salary. The rebuild of their entire environment, you need to take a consideration of the cost. How many servers are there? Or if there's a cloud environment, like how many instances of the cloud environment are there? So we quantify it based on the organization's environment, and then we give, okay, for a ransomware, if there's a ransomware right now, this is how much it would cost your organization roughly to come out of it, and to come out of it healthy, basically.
Basically, it's daily run rate for your operation, and if you're not ready for ransomware attack, most probably you'll be down 7 to 10 days. This is what we see in reality, and a lot of people surprised. They expect some silver bullet to show up and fix everything. Calculate, and we ask all business owners, calculate your 7 to 10 days of paying salaries, people not working. You cannot drive new business. How much does it cost? And I think maybe, gentlemen, to add and wrap up this point, overpaying it, like Arani mentioned, you're paying something that you're not getting value. And it's we spoke in the past about education's gap. If you're paying for something that you actually, maybe it's the best tool out there today, that largest banks, largest military organization using, but your IT staff, or if you outsource to small IT MSP, doesn't know how to configure it, how to operate it, how to react to events, it's as useless as as anything that you don't use, right? So I think this is the problem that we see today in the SMB space, and we wanted to bring it up so we can we can educate everyone who is watching this podcast, and maybe, or if you can go through what is the cost of cheap security, because we see some people think that free stuff will protect them, and if you can dissect that a bit, it would be great.
Absolutely. Like any other business in the world, right? When we as business owners, when we run this company, right, we tend to reduce our cost, and that's the reality of any business, right? So we don't blame when people, our prospects that we see, or clients that we see, rely on free software, right, for protecting their environment, or going for a home grade solution for protecting their enterprise. Now, again, talking about the reality of the market, right? Let's talk about a segment of cybersecurity like endpoint security or antivirus as an example. There are so many antiviruses in the world, right? Each comes with their own price point, right? Some are way cheap, right? Some are very expensive. Now, why are those products expensive? Because that company has put a lot of R&D and a lot of effort, right, to make that product more secure. Some of them perform really well compared to the others, right? But there is a trade-off, right? There is a trade-off of cost versus what you get from a security, and obviously what the budget is for a company or for a prospect. Having said that, right, like when you talk about cheap cybersecurity, while the decision driver for a business owner might be, hey, this is less expensive, let's go for this solution. When we as professionals, when we get called into a lot of our IR cases, a lot of forensics cases that we have dealt with in past, we often see the use of those cheap solutions leading to those incidents, right? So the true cost of that cheap solution at that point of time is actually the high amount of overhead, the business drivers, that we talked about, the cost factors that both of you talked about, of what's your run rate of the business once your business goes down, is way, way higher about that cheap software that you put in place, right? So the true cost actually comes out when that incident happens, right? Now, we talked about the example of antivirus. This is to protect your organization. If you have a cheaper protection at the end, the incident that will be caused due to that cheap protection, the cost of that incident is going to be way, way higher. The second part, obviously, as again, our target market for small and medium businesses, a lot of them think that they cannot be targeted. This is a theme that we repeat a lot. But the reality is they get targeted because they're easy targets. It's not about them targeting them personally. They are just a part of the drive-by, shooting on a drive-by, attack that happens, and they become a victim of it, right? So, the conversation needs to be, geared from cheap to affordable, right?
Yeah.
There's a fine line between, we need to stop saying this word cheap, right? Cheap does, there's a negative connotation to the word cheap, right? It means, either there's some, either it's shortcuts going in, or the software is not good enough. Let's talk about affordable security. So many gentlemen, opening up the floor, they would talk about affordable security controls and what can we afford.
This is a great point. And I wanted to add what you said. It's a lot of time people think that they will buy technology, and let's say even someone say, I'll go buy the most expensive technology, but technology by itself will not protect you. You need to know what is the context of your business, how to implement it, integrate it, operate it, maintain it, troubleshoot, because technology always have problems, right? So I think we need to create this notion of, it's not just you need technology, and you need people that actually understand your business and help you to manage your business risk. Sai, you've been talking about people quantify usually business risk, how much, if I'm losing 1 day of operation, how much it will cost me.
Yeah.
Executives get it. If executive, and I have this famous example from 5-6 years ago. We came to one of the meetings with one of the larger construction firms in North America, and the COO asked, "Hey, like IT asking me to spend 15 grand on this. Doesn't matter on the type of technology." So let us walk you through the ROI calculation. And once you're showing how much you will lose just by paying salaries without even taking anything else into account, versus this small expense and what this $15,000 actually solving, so that's, I get it now, do it. He gets instruction to his IT person, do it now. And I think to go to affordable model, exactly like you're saying, Arani, we need to educate people to understand that you need to understand the risk. If you're willing to take the risk, go ahead, take it, but most probably, statistically, you will get hit. But if you want to balance, not just to pour money on technology, but to understand what is your crown jewels, what do you need to protect, what are the priorities, then find the best technology with the people that actually know how to operate it, balance it, implement it. You're becoming to be less attractive target. They will go most probably to your neighbor or competitor if they're not doing that. So I think this is not just technology. It's really business leaders and owners need to understand what they need, and they need to ensure that the teams that they work with are actually really understand what they're doing. And sometimes I always coming back to that. There is a lot of good IT MSPs, but sometimes they just simply don't have that set of skills because they're growing from IT side. They're not coming from business risk, cybersecurity side.
Absolutely. And you touched upon a couple of points, and Sai, maybe we'll go to the framework component here, right? We talked about whether the business is willing to take the risk, right? In risk management terms, we call that risk appetite, right? How much of a risk appetite do you have, right? Are you willing to take this risk and go down? Now, the problem in the industry side, I think what we found in few of the engagements is there's no framework or standard, approach for a cyber cost or calculating the true risk of a, true damage of a risk, right? There are a lot of notions, but maybe Say, walk us through, how can we perceive, or how can we, talk about a framework of where we can calculate a proper cybersecurity risk, and then what are the ROIs considered? That maybe talk about the framework that we've been talking about.
Yeah. So what we do is, if for any type of gap or any type of cyber gap or finding that we have, for example, let me take an example of EDR or antivirus. If you don't have EDR or antivirus on your laptops, now what is the percentage or industry standard of risk that you have? Or threat actors might take over that particular laptop through a malware, through phishing, or whatever, right? We calculate that percentage, and based on that, if you what are the other controls that you do not have, like email security, like mobile device security, like firewalls, for example, if you have an on-premise, how can if the attacker can get into your laptop because you don't have an antivirus, they can laterally move through your environment, maybe deploy a ransomware somewhere. So based on that, we calculate these percentages of what could happen, and based on these percentages, we can come to the calculation that, okay, if you just don't have the basics like antivirus, this is the risk that you have from a cyber threat perspective, and this is the cost that it might happen from a run rate perspective, from paying employee salaries because your production is down, from a remediation or remediation standpoint as well. So this is a framework that we calculate for each and every cyber control across the board.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that we also kind of cover in these sort of approaches, there's a minimum baseline and there is a nice to have, right? Every company is different because it depends on your line of business, your regulatory requirements, your business drivers, why you are spending on cyber in the first place, right? So not every company is built the same. So in our approach, it's not one set of recommendation for everyone, right? Because every company is different. So, as I think as professionals, we try to tailor as much as possible for the business of the client that we're dealing with, right? So, everybody doesn't need to be protected at the same level as a bank, right? A small law firm or a small accounting firm versus, a large bank will have extremely different set of controls, right? But, in previous episodes, we have talked about minimum baselines. I think we have to have minimum baselines, and then everything else is nice to have, right? As a security person, for me, if everything is protected, that's great. But the reality is there has to be a trade-off between cost of doing that business, the risk appetite that you have, what you're willing to kind of take, and ultimately what protection you're getting from those controls, right? So there's a fine balance between that.
Exactly. And I think there's another simple message that everyone needs to understand. As long as your business has connection to internet,
Yes.
this is all non-negotiable, because and in our practice we have more than 300 clients spread around the globe today, and we meet people from very different industries, very different sectors. I don't think we met one business that actually really don't have connection. You connected to your bank, you need to order stuff, you need to pay, you name it. Again, it's applicable to everyone, and I hope this approach that there's a base that you have to take, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. It can be affordable today to specific in context of your business. It's applicable to everyone.
Absolutely. So, and one of the lesson learned that we have, in doing incident response, doing forensic work, responding to incident, and rebuilding environments, right? Few basic controls, like again we talk about MFA again, right? And you've seen us in other episodes talk about multi-factor authentication or MFA. Basic controls like MFA prevents a lot of your attacks, right? What we call as an attack surface of the business, or what are the ways a malicious threat actor will get into the organization or hack you. There are very basic controls that you can put in place that will actually prevent this from happening, right? And we'll talk about this point right now about how can you leverage your existing technology, how can you bundle, how can you consolidate to prevent some of these attacks, right? Some of you say in our recent experience, we dealt with a lot of customers who are on Microsoft, right? Yeah. And like we said, Microsoft, and we give example of Microsoft because again, by far the largest adoption that we see in most of our clients. They are everywhere. There is Microsoft Windows, they're using Office, they're using email. Again, that's the adoption that we generally see, and we hope other cloud providers and IT providers kind of catch up to the same segment and the same approach they're doing. But when it comes to Microsoft, right, maybe give us some examples to the audience of how you can leverage your existing technology to make it secure.
Yeah. And so Microsoft is coming with various tiers of licensing, right? So
very confusing at times.
It's very confusing and always constantly changing.
Has to change.
Yeah.
So I don't think at the times it's always confusing, and they're always changing.
Yes. Exactly. But for small and medium business perspective, the Microsoft has come out with the business premium licenses. Now with business premium, what they provided is they provide you add-ons that you can take, which gives the organization the top tier, that is E5 level license. The Microsoft provides security tools at a business premium rate. So you can leverage through the business premium. You can get like, for example, DLP solutions. You can get Defender. You can get Entra. You can get Intune, which is your mobile device management, all through just business premium, which is at a minimal cost for the organization when compared to like the top tier license that Microsoft has.
Absolutely. And talking the history about it, right? If you see the evolution of Microsoft overall, in the years of their journey, when they first came out with this licensing tier, they used to have this one license called E5 site that you just mentioned. That was the highest tier of the license. It still is, right? And there's so many security features that are there. But for some small, medium businesses, that sort of price point becomes unaffordable because that's a high cost. It comes with a high cost. So I think Microsoft has realized this strategy. And that's when in 2025, they came up with the add-on that you mentioned, the E5 add-on to business premium. And it's a very tactical example that all our audiences, all our clients, prospects can take advantage of today, right, to secure the organization, because they give you a lot of features, right, that can prevent that.
I mean, it was not available.
It is not available for
It was available for $50, $60 per user in your organization.
I think 75. I think it was higher.
I think like or 75. And just to give perspective, we see, and we've seen the statistic, but also in our practice, every 9 clients that we have out of 10 use Microsoft 365 today. And the other 10%, there is some people using Google G Suite and some other solutions, but everyone migrating eventually to Microsoft 365 or G Suite. And I think Microsoft did phenomenal investments into acquiring products, consolidating, integrating. Because I remember 2018, it was you needed a PhD in navigating Microsoft Portal to connect stuff. Today, it's fantastic experience, right? And they have potentially you can have everything as once. If you want to consolidate your price, you can have everything on Microsoft, assuming you took the best tools, because otherwise you bringing a knife to a gunfight, like they say, once you're dealing with attackers, and I think though there is one problem. There is dissonance on the market because Microsoft doing fantastic advertisement and say, hey, we are the most secure here. Here is everything, and I will keep coming back. People signing up for that, but having it in your environment, having license, doesn't mean it properly set and configured. There is a lot of work and know-how that's required to make it work. And this is what I assume you've been talking about. Yes. We help clients. You already have these tools, like let's configure it, let's integrate it, let's connect. So, and maybe if we can, Sam, maybe let's talk about how cybersecurity is an enabler. An enabler for doing more business, enabler for stay up and running, and like maybe just expand on that, and let's see how it goes from there.
From us, cybersecurity is an enabler for an organization. What does that mean? The first thing is trust to your customers. It provides assurance and trust to your customers that their data and their confidential information is safe or with your hands, with your organization's hands. The second is from an employee perspective, they are assured that no phishing emails are coming in. So even though there needs to be a cybersecurity culture within it, having controls in place will make employees more productive in nature when they're not always looking out, oh, this might be a phishing link, or this might be a phishing email, or okay, I'm going to this website. It might be a malicious website. So having all these will become an enabler for more productivity, plus trust and assurance to your customers.
Absolutely. I think one of the themes, so I just be working on the point, right? So in 2025 that we saw, and the previous years, and we'll see more of this year as well, cybersecurity has become table stakes. So what that means is when we even go to our customers, when a product company or our clients, a SaaS company as an example, are going to customers, I have this good example from a couple of weeks back, right? So there's a SaaS company, they have just started, they're going to do a POC with the bank. Right, they are pre-revenue, right? They have not yet made money. They are going to do a POC with the bank to acquire their first customer, and the bank is asking them, hey, you must meet these security requirements before we can even talk about a proof of concept, right? So, we see this adoption of this minimum baseline controls we're talking about as a key business enabler, right, in cybersecurity. Now, what does that mean? What does that translate to is even before you make money, when you're developing your product, right, cyber needs to be part of that budget, right? Cybersecurity needs to be part of that expense right now on day zero, right? Before you start making money, right? For any products, right? And why this is important, and this is actually a good thing. Again, we talk about drivers, this is a good driver. We talk about insurance driver, we talk about regular drivers. Customer facing security requirements are one of the key drivers that we see today. Why companies are going for compliance requirements, why companies are going for minimum baseline security requirements. And what is important over here is, look, when and this is a business question, right? So if a company has not yet made their money, would they be spending huge amount of effort and dollars, right, on cybersecurity? The answer is no. Right? It does not make sense from a business perspective to spend that dollar. But what is important over here, and what we talked about before, is what is that right size of security that we as professionals can advise and can implement for these startups and stay with them for the journey as they scale, right? So day zero security is very different from a day one or a day two, right? So how can we prevent cyber threats on day zero by meeting this minimum baseline requirements, by helping them adopt security controls in their existing technology stack, right, which they're already paying for, right? Again, from a cost consideration, which is the topic of the podcast, this is something that is very important because that's right size, that's a day zero security requirement. And then as you scale, as the company starts making money, slowly differentiate the cybersecurity budgets and optimize your budgets always, right? The aspect of rationalizing a cybersecurity cost is very important because, again, the business has to make money, right? And the fundamental thing of any business, they have to make profit and they have to make money. So the cost has to be low, right? When we say cyber, the cost has to be affordable so that there's the right amount of security on this.
And Arani, you make me think in terms of enabler,
Yes.
it's your ticket to sit at the table.
Yes.
And eventually think about it like that. If you are going back to this example of tech company that they want to play with the big guys right now, if they not invest into that, their future with that company is exactly zero.
Yeah.
They will not go anywhere, and not a lot of people think about it like that. And we can give quite a few examples in very different industries. Third-party risk management programs evolved significantly over a couple of years. If 3-4 years ago, one of the companies working with the largest beverage company around the globe, they send them a 75-page questionnaire. Do you comply with this? Do you do that, that, and that? It was 4 years ago. Today, even smaller companies want to know what is your cybersecurity, and it's a new reality. No one can escape unless you're not connected to the internet. We didn't find business like that yet.
Exactly.
I think, just to wrap it up, Arani, maybe if you can kind of summarize everything that we discussed about, and
Absolutely.
what is the practical steps for people to take from here?
Absolutely. I think the first step, and we talk about cybersecurity controls, recommendations, and what kind of things you can do a lot. I think one of the key aspects how we differentiate ourselves in the market, at least, is when we give a recommendation or when we give a a report with a lot of assessment recommendations, we don't leave over there, right? The next step from there is to budget that out, because we can generate a beautiful looking report with a lot of recommendations. It's going to be of zero value to a business executive or to the CFO of the company if they don't know how much that report or those recommendations that we give, how much that's going to cost at the end of the day. So one of the exercises that we encourage all our clients to do is look at your current IT and security spend. Look at how you are spending money on IT, and we actually help a lot of companies rationalize that cost. So we do this service of cyber cost rationalization with a lot of our prospects and clients, where we would go in, we would review their current spend today, and we'll actually find areas to save money. Right? It's a typical business, revenue optimization, exercise, right? But focused on cyber. Are you spending the right money on the right dollar, on the right tool? right? Is that going to give you adequate protection? Do you really need this sophisticated technology, which is really good on marketing and on the newspapers and everything today? Do you really need this for your organization, or are there better, affordable, not cheap, affordable solution that you can leverage with your current stack, right? Are you underutilizing your license anywhere, right? So look at your budget, look at your IT spend, give a hard look at it. Let us help you, and there are other professionals who do this as well. Like, study your budget, see areas where you're overspending, where there is areas of licenses that you can better utilize, and maybe get a better affordable security at the end of the day. That's what we wish for all our prospects and clients. Sai, any points to add to that?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well. And one thing is to understand your environment perfectly. So understand your environment, and then if help required, please get expertise in place to give you that affordable solutions from a cybersecurity perspective.
There was doubts.
I think like Jeff Bezos recently said, oppose equilibrium. Don't think you're doing fine. Find the right partner. Let them, if your IT supplier worked with you for 3, 4, 5 years, don't let them to become complacent. Find the right partner to come in and audit you and
provide effective challenge. Not your audit, I think it's an effective challenge.
effective,
right?
it's even better word. Thank you. Effective challenge to ensure that maybe you'll pay exactly the same, but maybe you'll just get much better value. So, and I think we gave a lot of thought for food for consideration and for thought. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to chat and provide you with guidance on how to make this small step for your enterprise, but big strategic change for a long run.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again in the next episode.
Thank you.